Robin, wherever you are. Good morning again, and welcome to our 24th session of Wandering Through the Big Book. This is the third session we've done on step 3. We've been reading the original manuscript, and we ended last time 2/3 through the way. We ended on page 62. But I'm going to go back a second to page 61. And this part of the manuscript is not really that different than the big book itself. So whether you're looking at the original manuscript or the big book, you'll get the idea. So what we were doing was reading this part of the book and substituting I statements and also putting it into the present tense for to help us identify with what they're suggesting better. So for an example would be, this is on page 61, what usually happens, the show doesn't come off very well. I begin to think life doesn't treat me right. I decided to exert myself some more, blah, blah, blah. And then you hit this line, still the play does not suit me. And this is one for me that has just been so big. I recognize this as no matter what, I'm running the play, I'm writing the play, I'm telling everybody what to do, and still it's not working out the way I think it should be working out. I forgot to mute everybody, so if you're unmuted, that would be it'd be good to mute. And then further on, I am sure that other people are more to blame. You know, that's the start of the resentment. We talked about the dishonesty of resentment. I'm unhappy, but you're to blame, not me. It's not my fault. I become angry, indignant, blah, blah, blah. Am I not really a self-seeker? That's a hard one to face. And then this one, am I not a victim of the delusion that I can wrest satisfaction and happiness out of this world if only I manage well? I mean, this is where it's so important. My experience was I could cop to being an alcoholic. That wasn't hard. That wasn't hard. That was easy to see. But when you said, I mean, also to admit that my life is unmanageable, I didn't really get there until in my 10th year of sobriety, and I'm in the deepest, longest, most intense depression of my life, and I recognize that I can't do anything about it. I'm seeing psychiatrists, I'm trying different antidepressants, my sponsor said, double up on everything that you're doing inside AA. I did that, and still I'm really miserable. And it really was, I left that experience with the same gratitude that I feel for being alcoholic. I have immense gratitude today for that depression, because it really taught me that my powerlessness, it's not over alcohol, it's over me, it's over this thing, it's over my reactions to my life. And my reactions to my life are dominated by resentment, by fear, and by a sense of remorse around my selfishness, which is what we take a look at in the sex conduct inventory. It's not about sex, it's about how we interact with other human beings and how we place ourselves first, that I'm caring more about me than I am about you, or whatever, if that's the case. So so what am I trying to say? I don't know what I'm trying to say. So we'll go back to what we're reading. I know, I was talking about my powerlessness over being depressed, and it's my powerlessness over me that makes my life unmanageable. So so back to these words on 61. Am I not a victim of the delusion that I can wrest satisfaction and happiness out of this world if only I manage well? And then this conclusion at the end, am I not, even in my best moments, a producer of confusion rather than harmony? Our home group did a group inventory, and And of course, you know, the first tradition says personal recovery depends upon AA unity. And so we're asking the question, what are the things that we do in our group that support, facilitate, strengthen unity? And what are the things that we're doing that don't? Because that's a very powerful statement. Personal recovery depends upon um, group unity, AA unity. Okay, and then this bottom paragraph talks about being self-centered and egocentric, and then we get to the ending of the first paragraph on 62. Whatever my protestations, am I not mostly concerned with myself, my resentment, my self-pity? Wow, you know, I've been continually struck by step 4, asking me to admit the exact nature of my wrongs, because I like being exact and I don't like being wrong. And um, what's the exact nature of my wrongs? I'm still working on. I think that if you couple that with the third step decision, um, our book says you may think you have lots of choices that you're deciding about. We think you've only got 2. And it says this in a number of different ways in a number of different parts of the book. At the bottom of page 25, it says, if you're as alcoholic as we were, you only have 2 choices. You only get 2 choices. One is going on to the bitter end, trying to blot out of your consciousness how miserable you are. And the other is to accept spiritual help. Accept spiritual help. Those are my only 2 choices. So earlier this morning, I was thinking about these 2 alternatives and trying to relate it to something that Jesus said when he was the Pharisees were trying to trap him. I'm not a Jesus guy, so don't worry, or whatever. So they're trying to trap him, and they're trying to get him caught up in some discrepancy between what the Bible says and what he's saying. And and of course, Israel is dominated by the Roman Empire, and they're all subject to what the Romans want them to do. So the Pharisees are saying, what about these taxes that we're having to pay to Rome? And Jesus says something that I think is very profound and talks about our only 2 alternatives. And he says, well, whose face is on the coin of the realm? And they go, well, Caesar's. And he goes, well, then, render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's, render unto God that which is God's. And I think it is so applicable to our spiritual human experience. We have both. I believe, more than believe, although I can't say much more about it. I know I have a human reality that is fundamentally my body and my mind. I know I have a spiritual reality that I call my soul, or lots of people we've been talking about mind, body, spirit, mind, body, soul. We've been talking about it for literally thousands of years. So, and my experience is they are not the same. They occupy the same space, but they are not the same. And my body mind has an agenda. And first thing on its agenda is survival. And the second thing on its agenda is to avoid pain and seek pleasure, avoid things that make me uncomfortable, try to get to things that make me comfortable. And that's why alcohol was so powerful for me, because it instantly took me out of my restless, irritable, and discontent, and I felt okay. You know, I've heard people say, you know, that first sip, and it's, yeah, yeah, I can do this thing, whatever it is. And I tell you what, if I didn't have an abnormal reaction where my body doesn't tell me to stop, my body demands that I keep on going, I would still be drinking. Any rate, so the body's demand is that I survive. And and the mind is going to set up the conditions for my survival. I have to have a lot of things. I have to have relationships. I have to have money. I have to have toys. And I used to have alcohol um, just to get through the day. And in any event, we use this word halt: hungry, angry, lonely, tired, to examine where we're at and do something about it. Well, that's logistical human stuff. That's rendering unto Caesar. And what I want to try to make a case for is that the third step decision is to try to place rendering unto God first on our list instead of rendering unto the human experience, whatever its demand is. Now, I think this takes some time. I don't think I've really seen this until more recently, and it's come as a result of reading some really ancient works where people would talk about the mind body versus the human experience versus the spiritual experience of the soul. You don't hear so much about it today, and it's after reading a book that called Journey of Souls that is about this PhD hypnotherapist, his experience with people under hypnosis flipping into a soul consciousness and being aware of the soul's life between human incarnations. And I'll put the book in the chat or something before the end. But in any event, I think the third step decision comes down to I've been making my body mind first all my life. And if I'm going to accept spiritual help as my only alternative to going on to the bitter end, trying to blot out of my mind how miserable I am, I'm going to have to make my spiritual reality more important than my human reality. And I would point out, for example, Jim the car salesman sitting in that roadside diner. Suddenly the thought crosses his mind, if I put whiskey into milk and drink it on a full stomach, I'm going to be okay. And then he says, I vaguely sensed I wasn't being any too smart. I believe that's conscious contact. I believe that's his soul saying to him in a vague, quiet, gentle way, not a good idea, Jimbo. You take that whiskey and that milk and you're headed right back to the asylum. And so that we wind up doing part of the challenge of this work is bringing down the volume and the anger often, or maybe the fear of the human experience enough so that I can actually hear my soul vaguely sensing that I'm not being any too smart when I keep deciding to do something. So I'm gonna get back to this to this manuscript and to another very important thing about a formula in order to do this. But one of the principles that we're working with is faith without works is dead. A decision without action doesn't mean anything. And they're going to say that right here, so that we're making a decision to try to grow along spiritual lines. How it works says the point is that we're willing to grow along spiritual lines, and we're trying to make that our priority instead of being happy campers on the human plane, which is what most of us spend most of our time trying to do. So, all right. So I'm into this paragraph in the middle of page 62, selfishness, self-centeredness, that we think is the root of our troubles. That we think is the exact nature of our wrongs. We are caught up in selfish self-centeredness, driven. This is such a power, driven by 100 forms, 100 forms of fear, self-delusion, self-seeking, self-pity. I mean, that's, gosh, we step on the toes of our fellows and they retaliate. Sometimes they hurt us seemingly without provocation, but we invariably find that at some point in the past, I have made a decision based on my human reality that later placed me in a position to be hurt. We invariably find, he's not saying we usually find, or we sometimes find, we invariably find that my fellows are reacting to my selfish self-centeredness. And isn't it interesting? Self-delusion, self-seeking, self-pity. Those are the things we're about to inventory. Self-delusion is the dishonesty of resentment. That I not only believe that your behavior is the cause of my unhappiness, I believe resenting you is an effective way to make you a better person and make me happy. And then I'm under the self-delusion that I could never treat another person the way you're treating me. And that's what gives me the right to be upset with you. At least in my case, when you get to the fourth column and you start asking, with regard to this person that I put in column 1, where am I being selfish, dishonest, or frightened? What we call the turnarounds. So our troubles, we think, are basically of our own making. I've made my troubles, not you. They arise out of me. I love this one. The original, they say it better, and when they changed it, they arise out of me, and I am almost the most extreme example that can be found of self-will run riot, and I don't think so. Now that's self-delusion. I'm an extreme example of self-will run riot, and I don't think so. I just love it. Above everything, above everything, above alcohol, above everything. I lost my place. I know it's going to say we must be rid of, oh yeah, we alcoholics must be rid of this selfishness. We must, or it kills us. That's a pretty strong statement. Why does it kill us? Because the tension, at least I'm speaking for me, the tension that I experience when my will for the world around me is not happening, the tension means I need relief. And if I'm going to go to the thing that gave me relief for a very long time, and then the allergy takes over and I wind up drinking myself silly, it will kill me. The tension will kill me. Let's see, we must or it kills us. God makes that possible. There's no way of entirely getting rid of self without God's aid. And then it's going to say something that it says at the beginning of We Agnostics that is just so significant. This is lack of power. That's the same thing. That We Agnostics says we can wish to be moral, we can wish to be philosophically comforted, we can try our best, and we can't pull it off. Lack of power is our dilemma. This says you may have moral and philosophical convictions galore, but you can't live up to them even though you would like to. And neither can you reduce your self-centeredness much by wishing or trying on your own power. You must have God's help. They toned this thing back. They went from you, the book talking to you, Bill Wilson talking to you, to changing it to we, because I guess they felt it would be too threatening for people, to say it as you. And then listen, this is the how and the why of it. This is where we left off. First of all, quit playing God yourself. It doesn't work. Our text says, the revision says, first of all, we had to quit playing God. It doesn't work. And this brings up a principle that is so important in our program. They're not saying, first of all, you have to quit playing God because you're not God and the Bible tells you so, and you should do everything that the Bible says. It's not saying that. It's saying you got to quit playing God because it does not work. It's not bringing you, one of my most depressing experiences is my self-reliance told me, do this, get that, have this, see that, whatever, my ambitions for my life. And I never was happy for more than 5 or 10 minutes. I got the stuff my mind said I want you to get. I want you to be rich, live in a nice house in a nice town, have a lovely wife, and still I'm miserable. So go figure. So I've got to quit playing God, not because it's philosophically correct, which it is, but because it's not working. The first step is the admission that my life as I'm living it is not working. Next, decide. Here's the third step decision. Next, decide that hereafter in this drama of life, God is going to be your director. God is the principal. You are to be his agent. God is the father and you are his child. Get that simple relationship straight. They took this line out. It doesn't say get this simple relationship straight. But you know what? One of the things my sponsor taught me was take their statements and turn them into questions and examine every word. This is a simple relationship. I don't know. Seems pretty complicated to me. What do they mean, simple relationship? And the simple relationship is God is the director and I am the actor. God is the principal, I am the agent. God is the parent, I am the child. How many of us really believe that? And it takes you right back to the question that we brought up several times. Do I think I created myself? And we've talked about the confusion on the human level, on the level of body and mind. I can create things. I built this house. I mean, I didn't physically build it, but I was involved in every part of it. I can keep my hair short, fingernails clipped. I can decide what I'm putting into my mouth. I can decide what I'm going to read. I can decide whether or not to go to a meeting. And after that, I don't have a clue. I don't know how my body picks the good stuff out from the bad stuff and when I eat. I don't know how to make a broken bone heal. I can't come on, do your work. Get down to, my wife broke her ankle this past week. And, I mean, she knows to do what they do is stabilize the thing and let it heal itself. She's not in there supervising the healing of her broken bone. Get that simple relationship straight. Most good ideas are simple, and this concept is to be the keystone of the new and triumphant arch through which you will pass to freedom. Freedom. It's getting a whole new word for me. Freedom used to mean I can do whatever I want. I have the power to do whatever I want. If I want to leave the situation, I can leave. If I want to go out on my boat, I can go out on my boat. I'm coming to believe that freedom is the freedom to play the role that my creator has assigned me rather than trying to design my own role. We are on page 68, we are in this world to play the role God assigns. Am I in this world to play the role God assigns? I'm designing my own role here. But the freedom, instead of living under the tyranny of my human body, mind, ego, personality, whatever you want to call it, having to do it, I don't want to drink today. You got to drink today. Keep me away from, I don't want to feel this resentment. Here it is. How you doing with it? That's living. I've lived under the tyranny of my human self most all of my life. The freedom is to play the role that I've been designed, to be able to quiet my mind enough to even hear it or get a sense of it. To be the that page 69 is going to say, we ask God to mold our ideals, our behavioral ideals, and help us live up to them. Same thing as step 11, praying only for knowledge of how God wants me being here on planet Earth and the power to get it out. And on page 68, it says, just to the extent that I try to do that, humbly rely on God and be the person God wants me to be, I will get the power. I will be enabled to meet the human calamity. It never stops. It's been going on forever. Drugs are stronger, weapons are more destructive, but the calamity's been here forever. Because it's an outgrowth of I think, fundamentally male human nature. The desire to control, the desire to acquire, whatever, all this selfish self-centeredness on a countrywide level. Okay, so freedom is my ability to not only decide that I want to do God's will for me, but to actually do it. So the decision is just the start of this thing. But just notice that formula. First, quit playing God. Second, invite God in. Third, do as you're directed to do. And I'm going to make the case that this is nothing more or less than steps 10, 11, and 12 on a constant basis. Quit playing God is step 10. When I feel selfish, dishonest, resentful, or frightened, 1, I pray at once for removal. 2, I share with somebody. 3, I make amends if called for. 4, I turn my mind to service. And at the end of the step 10, it says, the only thing you're actually supposed to be thinking about all day long is, God, how can I best serve you? That's the pause. Inviting God in is the asking and listening of step 11. Praying only for knowledge of what you want me doing. And that you'll give me the power to carry that out, because lack of power is my dilemma. I can think it and I can't do it. And I need your spiritual power to do it. Human power is not going to cut it. I've already admitted that previously on page 60, I think it is. A, I am alcoholic and cannot manage my own life. B, no human power, nothing of the body or the mind is going to solve my problem. C, spiritual power can and will, if I will accept it into my life. Boom. Wow, turning the page to page 63. Oh, and here's where the third part of that is. Yeah, when I sincerely take such a position, the position being God is my creator, God is my principal, I'm the agent, God is my director, I'm the actor, God is my parent, I'm the child. When I sincerely take this position, remarkable things are going to happen. That's a promise. Remarkable things are going to happen. I've got a new employer. Here meet the new boss, same as the old boss. We pray we don't get fooled again. I have a new employer. Being all powerful, he must necessarily provide me with what I need if I keep close to him and perform his work well. That's the same as if I humbly rely on him and try to be the person that God wants me to be. And I'm sorry for saying, I have to say God instead of he, because I think the he screws the whole thing up. But so quit playing God. Quit running your life based on your human body, minds, fears and desires, wants and needs. Invite God in as your principal, your director, your parent, whatever works for you, as your best friend, and then do what you're guided to do. That's 10, 11, and 12 all the time. Let's see, where are we? Oh, so we're in these third step promises. Established on such a footing, I'm getting this relationship straight. I'm trying to pay attention to what my creator wants me to do. I become less and less interested in myself, my little plans, and my designs. I've always loved that. My little plans. This ain't the grand plan. These are my little plans to try to make myself happy. More and more, I will become interested in seeing what I can contribute to life. Wow, this is the heart of it for me. I go from being a selfish self-seeker to asking, how can I contribute? How can I best serve you? How can I give to the world instead of trying to take from the world? As I feel new power flow in, as I enjoy peace of mind, as I discover I can face life successfully, lack of power is not my dilemma. I will become conscious of God's presence, and I will begin to lose my fear of today, tomorrow, or what happens after my body and mind die. I will be reborn. I will feel like a new person. Get this, get down upon your knees. Somehow, for some reason, there have been a lot of discussions in our meetings up here about the power of prayer and getting on our knees. It's just funny how themes will hang around for a while, and that's been a theme lately. Get down upon your knees and say out loud. That doesn't mean think, it means say. To your maker means prepare to meet your maker. Say to your maker as you understand your maker. Boy, we get it again. This is not about anybody else's conception. This is about what works for you. God, I offer myself to thee to build with me and to do with me as thou wilt. I don't know how many times I've said this thing over the course of my sobriety. It's always a challenge. And yet I'm telling you, real freedom comes from this. I offer myself to thee to build with me and to do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self that I may better do thy will. Not so I can be a happy camper. I want to relieve me of the bondage of self so I don't have to feel so bad. That's not what it says. In fact, most people will tell you, when you get into this work, you're going to feel a whole lot worse before you feel better. When you start to become aware of what's gone wrong in my life, how my selfish self-centered, I've been living under the tyranny of my selfish self-centeredness and didn't even know it. I'm an extreme example of self-will run riot, and I don't even think so. I think I'm doing good. I just have to drink all the time to get from here to there. Relieve me of the bondage of self so I can better ask and do, how can I best serve you? Take away my difficulties, not so I can feel better again, but so that my victory over my difficulties will demonstrate, bear witness, testify to those I would trying to help of your power, your love, and your way of life. Not my power, my love, and my way of life. May I do thy will always. And then I loved hearing a guy point this out. You know, he's Bill Wilson oftentimes will say at the end, think well before taking this step. You know, it's like a little too late. We've already said the prayer, and it's think well before you do this. That you can at last abandon yourself utterly to God. Are you kidding me? I mean, I don't know. I think I'm nearing 50%. Um, and I think it's why it's so important to remember the spiritual appendix is going to soften all of these statements, um, so that you can at last, suddenly or gradually, you know, abandon yourself utterly to God. That's what I'm hoping for, but I'm a lot more patient about it today than I used to be. It's very desirable that you make your decision with an understanding person. It may be your wife, your best friend, your spiritual advisor, but remember, it's better to meet God alone than with one who might understand. You must decide this for yourself. The wording of your decision is, of course, quite optional, so long as you express the idea, voicing it without reservation. This decision is only a beginning, though if honestly and humbly made, in effect, sometimes a very great one, will be felt at once. I felt this when I heard a voice say to me, you are done drinking. We are going to AA. I had avoided AA all my life because I didn't even want to look at how much I had to drink to make it through the day. And I just remember weeping after hearing that voice. And for the first time, I felt all I had done was decide to ask this guy to take me to my first meeting, you know. But I felt, wow, maybe actually I can do something about it. I could not imagine not drinking as a way of life. I could not even imagine it. And yet it was also obvious it was destroying my life. At any rate, okay, I just want to do one other thing before we stop, and that is, in the study guide, there is this thing called levels of the third step decision. And then what we're going to do next time is run through some of the other materials that are in the study guide. There's just a lot of ways of thinking about step 3 and approaching step 3 that come from Chuck Chamberlain, the author of A New Pair of Glasses. They come from a ancient spiritual guy, Father Guijo, and just a number of ways of approaching this third step decision to try to flesh it out. But what I'm looking at is step 3, the study guide, step 3, page 19, and it says at the top, levels of the third step decision: trust God, clean house, help others. And there are 5 different levels of this. You can take it or leave it as you choose. But this is pretty much my experience, and I would say to you that when I first did a third step, it was the decision to try to keep going to AA meetings and keep trying to grow along the spiritual lines and try to get involved with steps 4 through 9. It was not about getting God into my life. And I think that's been important for me to not beat myself about the fact that this God stuff is just a total intellectual mystery to me. I don't know what you're talking about. So this says, relieve me of the bondage of self so I don't have to be so miserable. I'm making a third step decision, not necessarily because I want a relationship with God, but because I don't want to drink again. And I did hear you say, if I don't change, I will drink again. I'm tired of my misery, and I'm going to try this thing. I'm going to try what you all are telling me to do. I am deciding to go through the rest of the steps. We talked a while ago, the real starting line of this work is when you get to doing 10, 11, and 12 all the time. That's the beginning of this work. All this other stuff is to prepare us to do that. 2, the decision to really change. What this is really doing is just going through the steps. Okay, I'm getting less miserable. I'm discovering more and more that I cannot trust my own thinking. That's been huge for me. My own thinking was the only thing I ever trusted, but I'm still working on asking God to direct my thinking. Step 11. At least now I am willing to let go of my sense of good and bad. This comes in the 7-step prayer. To some degree, I'm deciding to be my Creator's intelligent agent instead of believing and acting on the self-centered, self-obsessed, frightened thinking of my human brain. So now I am willing that you should have all of me, what I judge as good and what I judge as bad. And I pray that you now remove from me every single defect of character that stands in the way of my usefulness, not that stands in the way of my comfort, of my usefulness to you and to my fellows. I don't even get to be useful to me. Me. 7-step prayer, because I really want to change, because I don't want to drink again. Decision 3, the decision to be of service. Level 3. I'm now starting to feel, as I go out to make amends for the harm I've done others, as though the real purpose of my life, this is right from the book, is not just to quit drinking, but to fit myself to be of maximum service to my Creator and the people around me. What a huge change. I'm going, rendering to Caesar is not my number one priority anymore. I'm trying to accept the fact that the real purpose of my life is not just to quit drinking, but to fit myself to be of maximum service to my Creator and the people about me. 9th step, page 77. Whoa, did I sign up for this? Is this the purpose of my life? Grant me strength, give me power as I go out from here to do your bidding. I'm watching the clock because I'm going on long here. Okay, level 4. So what we've done is we've moved from level 2 is about step 7. Level 3 is about step 9. Now we're at the starting line. We're deciding to really decide the decision to pray and meditate. Biggest difference in AA, in my experience, people that learn to pray stay. The people that won't try prayer don't. The people that won't don't. And that's a decision that only comes after you discover you have some success with prayer, that somehow it's helpful. It starts with the decision to trust God, 3rd step. Then we clean house with steps 4 through 9. Now, if I'm going to decide to really give this thing, change through a relationship with God, a go, I will get serious about prayer and meditation. The 10th step prayer is, how can I best serve thee? Thy will, not mine, be done. The 11th step prayer is only for knowledge of your will for me. How do you want me being here on planet Earth in the year 2020? And the power to carry that out. This takes time and intent and practice, I would add. The Oxford groups devoted at least 30 minutes to this every morning. A 7 a.m. meeting is not quite a substitute. It's a good substitute, believe me. It's better than doing nothing. Step 11 is the heart of what we do. We keep current with step 10. We seek God's plan for our lives in step 11. We carry out that plan in step 12 every day. Last one, almost done. Decision to demonstrate our principles. This means demonstrating God's power, love, and way of life, which shows up as patience, tolerance, kindness, and love, page 83, all the time, about everything, no exceptions, no matter what. Faith, with works means that as I interact with my fellow travelers, I'm going to demonstrate the power of a relationship with God and carry that message and practice these principles found in our traditions in all my affairs. Step 12. This is how I can truly help others. Okay, thank you very much for your attention, and we'll do more next week. And I'm looking for, where do I tell it to? There we go. Okay, thank you.